I think that.
What do you think, Charlie?
Two things can be true. That it's not the ideal scenario in any way, shape, or form of getting the best team necessarily year in and year out, the best chance to win the World Series, but it's also great for TV. And I think that's why they're doing it. Now, this year's a little bit different because of the lockout, but I think we all know what baseball's trying to do. They're changing all the rules. They're going to have the pitch clock. The reason they're doing this, even if you don't like it, is because their fan base is very, very old, and you have this young fan base you're trying to attract, and it is the TikTok generation, and their attention span is like this.
Talk tick.
And here's the thing.
I'm on talk tick.
Like, was I happy about the Cardinals being bounced in 2 games? No. It didn't surprise me at all when I saw Wheeler and Nola. You could very easily lose those 2 games.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, though. It's unbelievably compelling TV. All those
Paul
games
Goldschmidt. I'm on talk tick.
Like, you play one game. All those games start on a Friday. Boom. You have 4 elimination games the next day. I'm not saying I love it because, again, the Cardinals got bounced. Teams that won 100 games got bounced. But you're going to watch on that Saturday when you have 12 hours of games where every single game is an elimination game.
Because there's more urgency. Because I get that. I think
you're going to watch
say
anyway.
5, 3? I don't know. They'll retool that. I don't know how, but 5 is fine with because there's something to be said for 5 because it maintains more urgency. Best of 7, there could be a game. They'll win the next couple. I'm fine with 5.
I think the other part is the fact that we'll see what happens with the Yankees and the Guardians. But let's say Cleveland wins.
Guardians.
Let's say that happens. I think the Yankees are probably going to win. But if Cleveland wins, you'll have 3 of the teams that played in the first round advancing. You'll only have 1 team, the Astros, that moved on. And so I think you can make the case. Now maybe this is just a weird year, but you wonder if the quote-unquote bye is actually good. You can set up your pitching, but there's something to be said for some of these teams having to grind the whole last month. If you're playing for something every day, I think you can make the case for the Cardinals. They had nothing to play for the last couple weeks. But these teams that have to do everything, Phillies, Padres, you have to beat a good Cardinals team. You have to beat a good Dodgers team. You're hot. You're feeling it. Right? Then you roll right into that next series. You beat a team that's been sitting for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And I have read stuff where people think teams will have to change their approach now because now the baseball playoffs reward the team that's gotten hot. No, it's always been that way. I don't think they're. And then how do you plan for that? So wait, we shouldn't sign this player because we want to be hot on this particular date? Life isn't that way. You can't plan for that.
Well, that's where anybody, and I'm not saying, I'm Nostradamus, but anybody who thought the Phillies versus the Cardinals, when you saw how their rotation matched up perfectly, their off days matched up perfectly to roll out Wheeler Nola in a best of 3. Anybody who thought that was going to be easy was insane. Even the odds makers had that as a virtual coin flip, the Cardinals to win like 57%, based mostly on home field advantage. Because if you actually looked at pitching matchups, if you're a bettor, would you take Wheeler over Quintana? Would you take Nola over Michaelis? I would take the better starting pitcher if I'm betting on individual games. Like the Phillies were able to beat the Cardinals without rolling out their 3, 4, or 5th starter. Think about that. They threw 2 aces at you.
Yeah.
And said, "See you later."
Yep. But the other thing
Good night.
is, you have to look at their lineup and how Cardinal pitching can impact the Phillies lineup, which I thought they'd be able to handle them. For the most part, they did. Bullpens, Cardinals, huge advantage with the bullpen. Didn't work out that way because of a middle finger, right? And defense, where actually, overall, the Phillies probably played better defensively than the Cardinals. You don't see that kind of stuff coming, but in a short series, anything is possible.
There's also randomness. Look at how the Phillies beat the Braves. So now Harper's starting to hit homers. And guess what? Castellanos, who didn't do anything all year, got some big hits. But then you have the random folks like Duck Dynasty, Mr. Marsh, and Stott. You have these dudes who all of a sudden come up with a huge hit. And you add that on top of, like, the second the Phillies won game 1 with Ranger Suarez, I was like, the Braves are in trouble. When you lose that game, and then you got to face Wheeler Nola, And they lost the Wheeler game when he pitched really well.
Yeah.
He got dinked and dunked. But like the second you won with Ranger Suarez, the Phillies, all of a sudden, the ball was in their court.
And again, defensively, because that's a big part of the equation for me, you look at the Phillies compared to the Braves, you're like, Acuna's going to have a terrible defensive series. No, he's not. It's going to be Schwarber. But it was Acuna. You can never see that coming.
Yeah. It didn't work for the Cardinals' favor, but it was exciting as hell. I think they're going to – I don't know if you need to have an elimination game to playoff baseball. People are watching that anyway. I don't know. I just like to see more of it. 7-game series seems like it works. I kind of agree with Nate. Yeah, Nate.
It's because you're an alpha male. And Charlie and I are betas.
No, it just doesn't make any
Beta
sense why
cucks.
you would not want to have more postseason baseball. Like just any thought that more would be somehow worse for the game is hard for me to imagine.
Don't we have more, though? Because they added the best 2 or 3 instead of the 1-game wild card?
But I would eliminate teams and have 7-game series if that's what it came down
But
to.
do you agree that in a 5-game series, maybe there's, if you're looking at the positives and negatives, there might be more urgency with a 5-game, which can also bring more excitement?
I think it invites randomness. The shorter the series, especially a game like baseball, ball takes a funny hop, boom.
I don't think in
And all of
life
a
you
sudden
can
you're-
ever plan out randomness, even if it's 7 games.
But in 7 games, there's a much less likelihood.
I agree with
of
that, but it's still-
randomness winning four games.
I agree, but think about it. If we took a 7-game stretch at any part in the season and talked about a player going crazy, we'd always have to say we stipulate small sample size. So yes, I agree. The longer it is, the better chance of more normalcy, but it's still a small sample size.
I forget what's the percentage of teams after they win game 1 of a 5-game series that go on to win it's something absurdly high. High 70%, I think, go on to win the series in a best of 5 after winning game 1. And that seems
People chirping that the new playoffs and randomness hold on. People chirping that the new playoffs and randomness of just get in and it's who gets hot at the right time will hurt the overall 162-game season. Those teams that win their division 100-plus games in this season has not meant much, so people may only tune in during October.
Dodgers also got pretty banged up at the end, though.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't the team. I mean, you have no Walker Buehler for most of the year. I mean, you had some teams also that are facing some injuries. Like that Braves team last year. It's very easy to look at them and say, oh, they were like a 500 team. I remember that series where the Cardinals and the Braves last year were about the same team right around trade deadline. And the Braves totally redid their outfield. They went out there and they got a bunch of guys, and every single one of them came through.
Came huge.
Like kind of dudes who are solid, above average MLB players, but guys that just went crazy, like Jorge Soler and Duvall and Rosario and Jock Peterson. I mean, they redid 40% of their lineup.
And it worked out perfectly. Couldn't have planned it better. But it's hard to plan because things change on a dime. For example, like Grisham with the Padres. Awful this year. All of a sudden, maybe the best hitter in the postseason, one of them anyway. Hader back to being lights out when he was a disaster toward the end of his stay with Milwaukee and when they first got him in San Diego. All of a sudden, he's Hader again. How do you plan for that?
I'm not even saying that if these games or if these series were 7, that the Phillies and Padres wouldn't have knocked out the Braves and Dodgers. I'm simply saying I want to watch more of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
And I think
Yeah.
from a marketing standpoint, if you're talking about selling exciting baseball, you want as many games as what we've had in this postseason. I mean, tonight you got a game 5. It's been a hell of a series, Cleveland and New York.
I've loved every minute
I
of
don't want it to
watching
end.
these games. I agree with that. I mean, we're on the same page in a lot of ways. But I will say, because I'm a sore loser, I'm still butthurt that the Cardinals aren't in it. I still am. And I'm an adult.
Yeah.
It kind of
Get
makes
over it.
It kind of makes me feel like I'm a beta.
Well, it was too fun. It was too fun of a year to end so quickly.
Yeah. Poof.
With Yachty and Albert and Waino and 700 and a team that got super hot.
Yeah, man.
Even though they weren't the greatest team in baseball, they're probably a top 5-6 team. But it felt like more of a special season to be 2 and out.
Baseball was always unique because of the length of the season, and it rewarded the teams that were good from April all the way through to September. Now, with the addition of all these new teams to the playoffs, it rewards teams that get hot the last 6 weeks of the season. What's the point of playing 162? Flip phone. What up, Stanley, dude?
Entertainment, money.
I didn't like the DH, and they had it, and I still like baseball. I thought the playoff format, the way that's laid out, kind of ridiculous. Seemed like kind of jerry-rigged to make it happen, make it fit, and I've enjoyed it. So, I mean, I've enjoyed watching all of it, so it's hard for me to complain about any of it.
The new playoff format didn't hurt the Cardinals. Jeff Albert did. Rockwood. Always something. Always something. What do you think,
It's
Seth?
Jeff Albert's fault.
What do you think, Seth?
That Goldie and Arenado.
What do you
didn't
think? Are
hit.
you still scared from that weird place you went in Benton?
Yeah, I'm having some PTSD.
You have to touch all those good old boys down there?
No, by the way, 73% of the teams that won Game 1 in a division series did advance to back up Nate's support.
Wow, Nate.
What's that?
Nate's spitting facts today.
73% of the teams that have won Game 1 of a division series have gone on to advance.
And then go look up when you condense it even farther to a 3-game series. What happens when they win Game 1? I bet it's close to above 80.
80-something.
Yeah.
Mo, get on this.
Win Game 1.
Yeah, you win the first one.
Well,
Cardinals.
He screwed that up. He sat on his damn hands while Helsley imploded out there on the mound. Like Hiroshima was happening out there. And Ollie was like, oh, no big deal. It's only a best of 3. Come on, we'll get him tomorrow, boys.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Isn't that true, though?
That's funny, man.
I know a lot of people have said
Nate
this.
is great.
I know a lot of people have said this, but it seems to be really accurate that sometimes there's so much analytics and so much thought that goes into the game before it even starts that I think a lot of these managers have this script of how they want the game to play out, and then it draws them away from actually watching the game and specifically watching how starting pitchers are performing. And it's not just Ollie in Game 1. I've seen so many examples, and you can go back to the big Blake Snell example a couple years ago. There's so many examples of managers who can't wait to take out a starting pitcher who's dealing because it's statistically the 3rd time through the order. And I get it. But every once in a while, a dude can just deal.
Yeah.
And throw 108
See
pitches
it all the time.
and shut you down. Like, that still happens every once in a while. And so you have these managers who are obsessed with pulling a starter, yet they let their relievers die and rot on a vine. It's like you are so quick to pull the guy at 77 pitches or 75 who's dealing because the numbers tell you the 3rd time through, the batting average goes up. And I understand that. But then they'll let the reliever go out there and just suffer.
Throw 50 pitches.
And just put a guy on, put another guy on. Oh, now somebody's up too late.
Yep. I get you, man.
But by the same token, too, part of it to me is being disciplined. Like, if Quintana had the best stretch of his career by not being pushed too far and being more aggressive with his fastball, but here's the formula. Hey, here's the formula that worked. We're going to stick to that. I could understand that, too.
But I looked that up. It wasn't 75. If you take all of his outings that were starts, so not the last start against the Pirates, because that was a 3-inning little deal, get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
I looked this up. If you looked at all of his starts with the Cardinals, his average pitch count, I believe it was rounded up to 87, if I'm not mistaken. We can look that up. But I looked this up last week. It was like 86 or 87. So that's the difference of about an inning. That's what we're talking about. That's maybe 2 outs. That's maybe getting him through the 6th. So I do think 75 pitches is very aggressive in terms of a guy who you were letting on average throw about 86, 87.
Okay, so my initial thought, and I don't know because I didn't look it up, but on that hot stretch, I don't think it was 87. I
No,
think
he
if you
threw over
took
100.
If you took
like 3 or 4 times.
If you took the whole season,
No. Dude, I looked this up because
I did a
think
quick
this is
look at
interesting.
it the other.
His Cardinal-
as they were doing it, I looked it up and I saw 87. I didn't see 100 in there.
His game pitches, I'm looking at his game log right now. In the month of September, 87, 82, 104, 101, 81.
So I didn't even see.
Okay, but we're talking about 10 starts. It averaged about 86 or 87 pitches for the Cardinals.
I just don't think you can get caught up in the number. I think you got to evaluate it in game and how the guy's dealing. Is he getting hit hard? Is he working out of jams or these high stress innings?
Yeah.
He was cruising. He had 75 pitches.
Use
and
your
he allowed
eyes.
one hard hit ball, and he stranded the runner over at third base. I think sometimes with the data, we
The beta?
we use it more so than just trusting your eyes and your gut instinct. You got to watch a guy.
Right, and I do think, to be fair, I think there's less margin for error with a guy like Jose Quintana. He's not this huge strikeout guy. I understand that because the next mistake, the first mistake, can be a 2-run homer. I'm not trying to say that this was the worst decision in the world. I think it's fair to have the debate. But if you go back to the Blake Snell game a couple years ago, that was the ultimate just mistake because look at what happened in the other dugout. Is the other dugout very happy that you just took that pitcher out? They couldn't touch the guy.
Yeah,
I don't care what the numbers say. When you take a pitcher out and the other team is happy about it, you made the wrong decision.
Boom.
The other team cannot wait to not see that guy
There's
again because
Charlie.
he's freaking shoving.
There it is. There's the Charlie I know. There he goes.
And the more time that you go to that bullpen, the more opportunity you're going to bring in a guy who just doesn't have it on a certain day.
Man. Let's see here. Coming in. Nate, does your method for buying Cardinals tickets right at game time work for Blues games too? Probably not.
It's a little different. I mean, the capacity is half.
Yeah.
And
Bill and Jeff Coach Hamilton goes, did you guys see Josh Naylor's home run trot and mocking Garrett Cole? Bat flips are okay, but this is too far. I hope he gets stuck in the ribs. Bill, yeah, dude, that was way too much.
Especially for a guy who had some bad at-bats.
Yeah, and you're
Bad
losing.
at-bats.
And you're losing. And you're just, it's okay to show emotion. Look at him. Duh, I'm your what's he doing? What's he doing? I'm telling you, when you're that loud, you get bit in the ass, dude. You just do. The only difference between baseball now and last year is that there's one more team per league in the mix and at least one extra game in each wild card game. The minute that the wild card was introduced in the playoffs in 1995, the playoffs became random, thus diminishing the value of a full season. That's how it all works. This is nothing new. Who said that? Smart. Baseball guy. Great
Kyle.
guy. Boom. Job, so,
I was going to say
But
Gino.
it also makes the end of the season for in a bunch of cities more exciting.
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not like the idea isn't random. I understand that the effect can create a random outcome, but you want to make it more exciting for more cities that you still have a chance at something. And it did that, didn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Did Ollie make himself a beta cuck male when he didn't pull Halsey in game one? Makes you think, Rockwood. Burley goes beta data. I like that.